Hey, everybody. Welcome to Executive Thought Leadership webinar with AJ and Michael and myself, Justin. This is a LinkedIn event. We're also doing it live streaming it to YouTube. And if you're here, you're probably curious about executive thought leadership. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, but specifically from a video perspective. So we have a few questions we're going to dive through specific to how executives can be on video. And it's going to be basically a panel discussion, the three of us. If you do have questions while we're talking, this is kind of an open forum method or a system or whatever you want to call it. So put your comments in there, and we'll see that. And if it's a good one, we'll answer it. So do feel free to ask questions along the way. Let's do this real quick. AJ, do you want to introduce yourself, and then Michael after that?
You bet. So I'm AJ Wilcox. I'm in the great state of Utah in the US. And for the last 14 years of my life, I've been all in on LinkedIn ads. It's the one thing that I just get super excited about. And even being heavy ADHD, where it's hard for me to stick with something for like longer than a year, I'm into this 14 years and I still absolutely love it. I founded an agency called B2 Linked almost 11 years ago, and we are 100% dedicated to just getting high performance from LinkedIn advertising.
Yeah, cool. Michael, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I'm Mike Abramowitz. I'm co-founder and CEO of VideoSpan. And VideoSpan is a platform that allows you to create brand standards around video that are accessible across the organization. So you can take advantage of video the same way you think about a PowerPoint template, and anything you record, collect, upload, and we're working on generate immediately gets delivered with those brand standards intact, and you have all the integrations in place to publish it everywhere it's going to have an impact, like LinkedIn, both the company pages and personal pages. So it's a really popular way for organizations to use our platform. And I'm out of Chicago. We've been building this product and company for around 4 years and seen a lot of changes with the way organizations, in particular B2B organizations, are embracing video and the role it's going to have on LinkedIn, executive thought leadership. So excited to dig in here.
All right. And I'm Justin Vaco, and I run, Michael and I connected because Michael basically, the one way to talk about it is Michael does the software version of what we do. We're the service side of that. So we're white glove service, helping executives and founders get on video the easy way, getting on their calendar, doing the interview with a human being, topic preparation and coaching live there in the call, and then editing and publishing as well. So there's a lot of commonalities, what Michael does and what we do. And also what AJ does. We've worked together on a couple different projects now, and we thought we'd put this resource together for you guys to kind of dispel some myths if you haven't done video. And for executive, if you are an executive or you're trying to get your executive to do video, kind of dispel some of those myths, give you some ammunition. You can go and take this to your leader and hopefully convince them it's worth it. And then if you are doing video, gives you some tips for how to make it more streamlined. And we're also welcome. We don't know everything. We also welcome any feedback you guys have for us. If you're seeing things we're not seeing, feel free to add them there in the comments today. So let's dive in. This is about executive thought leadership, specifically with video. So let's start with that big question. AJ, Michael, and I'll start with you, Michael. Why video? Why not just do blog posts? Why not just do text posts?
So I think there's many reasons. The first and foremost is like it's an opportunity for you to really connect with your audience and tell a real story. It's also the content your audience likely wants to receive. I think increasingly people don't have the time or attention span to really dig into text-based content. And with the volume of AI-generated text-based content, it sort of loses its impact. So people are looking for this video content. And, the whole point of this is to try to meet your audience with what's going to have an impact. And the medium is just as important as the message, right? So you've got a lot of opportunities now to create and publish video directly out to your audience. It's just you have to be willing to take the step and do it, really.
Now, AJ, I want to hear your perspective because I know you're an ads guy, but you do video. Can you tell me why you've embraced video for your agency?
This has been an evolution for me. Like if you asked me like 4 years ago, do you recommend running video ads on LinkedIn? I would have said absolutely not. For the cost, they're not worth it. And then within about a year of that, me and my marketing team were starting to do some testing, and we realized that we could get 2 people to watch half of a video. So it's about 40 seconds worth of video for the same price as getting 1 person to click to our landing page. And so I started thinking, like, what's worth more to me? Someone consuming, the majority of a message that I'm trying to convey, where I'm teaching and sharing, or going to a blog post that they could very easily just bounce from. And I realized I would much rather pay for someone to consume my words. Because if you think about it, in business to business marketing, it's all about building that know, like, and trust factor, because that's what you need for someone to be willing to then meet with someone in sales. They have to know, like, and trust you. And the further validation here is that then LinkedIn about 2 years ago released the thought leader ads. And so now these are videos not just posted from the company that people just scroll right by. They're posted from an individual, and these are performing even higher at much lower costs. And the kicker here for me, what I really care about, is we can retarget the interactions, the consumption of that video for later ads from the company. And that's how we build that know, like, and trust factor. So now I'm all in on video, just because I've found that the cost per consumption and the cost per building a retargeting audience is way better than anything I could do that's static.
Yeah. And I love that you already started bringing in basically the strategy. We'll talk about that a little more, about specifically, how now you have the video content. How do you leverage that in your ads? Because it's a good point about one of the points I like to make is not every touch point means the same thing, right? If I read 2 words from somebody, or I watch 2 seconds of a video, maybe that's a bad example. If I read 500 words, or I watch 5 minutes or 2 minutes or even 30 seconds, which one am I going to be left with as something I'm more likely to remember? And studies show if you watch a video versus reading the text, you're going to remember the video way more. And there's scientific brain reasons for that. It's the dual code theory and things like that, where if you see a moving picture and then you also receive the information, you're pairing them together, and you're more likely to remember it. So there's all sorts of brain science that proves that video is not just a good way to be remembered, but also this very I think, Michael, you said it earlier, right? This very almost like woo-woo thing of like, I just want to connect with people. But that's, when you think about it, and that's important, guys. We're talking about the B2B context, right? If you're selling your company in a B2B environment, you do have to talk to a human. And I don't know about you, but I've often not done business with a company because I didn't like the human that I was working with, and vice versa, right? I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing. So why not give people a taste of the humans behind the veneer of polish and behind the veneer of content? Because that's ultimately who you're going to be working with anyways. So a couple reasons why you want to be thinking about video is it just does enhance that connection, and you have nothing in B2B if you don't have a connection with your buyer, right?
So
I agree.
Couple points there about why we want to be thinking about video. It's not just, it's a nice to have and you stretch for it. It's something that I think, Michael, you brought it up earlier, compared to AI content, text content. I mean, I believe it's going to be the next stage of what building connection looks like online, because there's so much content that is very hard to know whether this is like, did your robot write this? Do I even want to read this? Even this morning, I was on LinkedIn. I was like, oh, that's a ChatGPT post. People I follow, like, there's people like, oh, not going to read that. It's just, I'm not interested in reading a ChatGPT post. I want to hear what somebody has to say, specifically if it's video too. So
we see that too in like sales processes, and we don't talk about like our salespeople needing to be, the most likable or like develop, deep friendships with our customers, but it's more about, do they trust you, and are they getting value out of every touch point they have with you? Like, do they view the opportunity to meet with you as an opportunity for them to learn, grow, take back information to their organization that's going to make them look better? And it's the same thing with the content you produce. And if you do that with video, and people are seeing you in their feeds, it's sort of the same things. When you show up to a meeting with a client, they see you as someone that's going to be valuable to have more conversations with, that's going to create more valuable within your organization. And it is such a deeper sense of connection when they actually see your face and see you actually communicating with them directly. And even if they don't watch the entire clip, if they're in your feed or you're in their feed and they're seeing you, you're top of mind as a person, right? And they're remembering that you are that person that creates value for them and for their organization with your products and service.
Yeah. A lot of it is really based on like, just do it, right? Just like, you know, trust the process kind of a stuff. But I will share one story that stood out to me. That's a recent story. I was talking with a connection of mine, a LinkedIn connection. Her name's Angela Duns, and she does attorney marketing. And she said something very interesting to me. I was like, oh, I'm going to use that. And she said she does all sorts of content on LinkedIn, right? The whole 9 yards, everything you can think of. She's very active on LinkedIn. She runs her own business. She is her own. She's a founder, but she's also in the DMs, and she's creating content. And she said, surprising to her, she realized when people were meeting with her for a sales call, they wouldn't ever reference any of her content except for her video content. Now, they were consuming all of her content. They're not just watching her videos, but interestingly enough, people were only mentioning her videos. So what does that say about the power, that the remembering factor, going back to what I was saying earlier about the videos? So if you want people to, I think, I don't know who, but if you want to build that know, like, trust factor, there's nothing that beats that, because it's the closest thing we have to face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive in. Question number, so that's the why. All right, we kind of give you guys a really good meaty something to sink your teeth into. If you're on the fence or you want some, some reasons why I bring this to your executive, some data back to answers there for why executive-led video is so powerful. Because honestly, a lot of us are scared to do video, whether we admit it or not. There's a middle schooler in all of us that's like so cringy and afraid of being judged, but it is worth doing once you get on the other side of that cringe factor. Let's talk a little bit specifics here in terms of formatting, guys. Ideal format, length, structure. What are you guys seeing that's working for you? Vertical, landscape? Tell me about that. Michael, I'll start with you.
Yeah, from our perspective, it's interesting. So like the format in terms of aspect ratio, it really depends on what you're trying to create. We see sort of, I don't see one necessarily outperforming generally than the other. AJ may have more insights on that on the paid side, but we do see like a need for consistency in what that aspect ratio represents for the content, right? And that's like the philosophy of our product, is that you have brand aesthetics for video content the same way you do everything else. So when you're doing a vertical video, that's sort of a more candid perspective from an executive, a more authentic view of them. When you're doing a landscape video, it's a more professional, higher gloss production. So if you're repurposing webinar type content or doing some higher gloss production, like a testimonial type thing, and you want it to feel more elevated, then use it as landscape. And like what we see having an impact in terms of brand aesthetics, it's things like pre-rolls, end rolls, watermarks, caption styles, lower thirds, consistency in the aesthetic, like the quality to the noise isolation, so that when people are engaging with the content, whether or not they watch the full thing or even just catch like a micro moment of it, there's some sort of brand connection, some synapse being formed across the board.
AJ, what are you seeing specifically with ads? Is it definitely do landscape or vertical? Do you guys consider that in how you do your formatting?
Yeah, it's really interesting. We actually did a test recently where we found that LinkedIn tends to give you the best performance for video if it's horizontal, which totally blew my mind because they've gone all in on vertical video in their video feed. So I was not expecting that at all. But really, I would say if you're going to use this for ads, don't overthink it. If your executive is more comfortable like holding their phone like this, great. If they're more comfortable sitting in front of their webcam, great. A nice happy medium is if you do square, just a 1x1. That can give you everything that you're looking for, and you don't have to worry too much. What you find being super important is the majority of the ad viewers are watching with the sound off. It's something like 80+% will watch without sound. So when Michael's talking about caption style, I found that the big animated TikTok style captions are an absolute must. I ran a test where I did one video with just LinkedIn's default like black and white captions versus the animated ones. And in 2 separate tests by running the animated captions, our completion rate doubled. So about just by changing the style of the captions, you get twice as many people to watch all the way to the very end. A total no-brainer.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I would never have guessed that caption change could do something like that. I love that you've studied this. Yeah, that makes sense. We do both in our agency. We do different caption styles. They're all branded depending on what the client wants, really. Because it's all organic, we don't really have a way of saying, well, this versus that. You know, we're not in a testing environment. They're all posted different times of the season, different topics. But I will say we do aim for vertical video in our agency, just because of, I think, Michael, you said this earlier, that personal touch. We associate vertical video with a more intimate talking point versus an official presentation that is landscape. I've personally done both, but I know that on LinkedIn, for example, if you're doing organic content, you have basically a Reels type feed on LinkedIn, and you can't appear in that feed if you are doing landscape video. You can only appear there if you're doing vertical video. In fact, now I've been starting to see, I don't know if you guys have seen it, some new, pulling up LinkedIn here, some new like video sections, like thematic video sections on LinkedIn. So it's like, you know, how to do your next resume. And then there's like a bunch of vertical. Here's one, our meeting's a waste of time. And then you've got, you know, you can see how these are all vertical. Whoop, there we are. Vertical videos. Don't know if that'll stick around. LinkedIn's always playing with the way they do their product, but that is what we aim for, is vertical video. Whether it's, you know, beneficial or not, it's really, it's just the standard we aim for. Now, I will say, if it's for a website, we try to do landscape video. So it's a landing page video for video sales letter. Really, I think, Michael, you were saying this, right? It depends on context, the format you want to aim for. But let's talk about format does bring up the question of like production quality. What's your guys' take on that? AJ, I'll start with you.
I think anytime that your quality is not distracting, lower quality is good. So having just enough audio that someone doesn't go, ooh, that sounds bad, or just enough lighting or video quality to make someone second guess it. Because when someone is talking to you, if they feel human, if it doesn't feel like they have a marketing team behind them that's really polishing everything, I think they're more believable. So especially if you ask a busy executive, please record this for me, or would you be willing to? If they're like, oh, I have to go and buy this camera and I have to set up all this lighting, that's going to be a stopper. Like, you're not going to get the task done. So don't overthink it. Go basics. But Michael, I'm sure you have a better take on this.
No, that's a great perspective. The way we see it is, especially, we're talking B2B, right? So there's a balance between authentic and professional. And that's where we'd really try to kind of walk the tightrope, that here is me showing up as my authentic professional self, right? Like, so you want this content to look and feel like you're catching somebody, you know, at their desk and you're having a conversation in a professional setting, not necessarily like at the beach, you know, living, you know, their best life. And so and that what we have tried to do with as much automation as possible is ensure that the outputs are coming out with that sense of professionalism, that to the extent that we can upscale quality, that we can isolate audio, that we can, you know, make those caption styles animated, but also brand aligned and have a sense of like font styles that they're engaging, legible, but also brand aligned, right? And that's where we philosophically try to point the ship with our outputs. Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah, there a lot of different ways you can do video content. I really like the question from George. What have you found is the most effective to getting busy executives to create video content? I believe we're going to talk about that. Let's just talk about it now. It's on our docket. So it ties in exactly to what you guys are saying, which is the more complicated you make the end, the more polished you make the end product, the more complicated, the more friction, the more likely you're going to hear a no from your executive on the front end. So if you start with the end in mind, what's the end? Well, we want to do video. Are you willing to do video at the expense of high polish, which I would argue is a pretty good thing to jettison these days, because nobody expects high polish on social media. Can it be effective? Sure. There's always a point, there's always going to be a room for high polish. I mean, I've seen it work, but it's not the expectation. And so that means if you strip back high polish, we can then make the actual shoot of the video, the capturing of the video possible. So George, your question is, you're lining up a longer video shoot to consolidate video creation in one morning. So that's called batch creation. Yeah, highly effective. Batch creation, it's what we do in our agency with our clients, 1 hour a month, batch creation, 5 to 8 videos. Very, very effective. I will say, George, one recommendation is, if you have the topics, send them ahead of time to your executive, but don't make it very clear you do not want them to do anything with the topics. This is something we do in our agency that really, it does two things. Number one, it gets them ready for the call, more confident, and gets their brain subconscious to work on the problem, so they're much more in flow when they answer your question. There's nothing worse than showing up to an interview. I know some people can do it, but most people, nothing worse than showing up to the interview and being like, and then let me start over. And that happens because we're not mentally prepared. We haven't thought about it. So send them questions. Some executives will want to like flesh it out and they'll want to like write every bullet point. Do tell them it's not a requirement. You recommend not doing that, because then they're going to want to stick to their script versus just answering questions. And then part 2 of that is ask them questions, lead them, like we're doing right now in this panel session, right? We're asking each other questions and we're answering the questions. This is the most natural way to do video and to come across as natural on video without having to be, getting any kind of actor training. Still has value, but if you're trying to just create content straight from the horse's mouth, conversation method, send questions ahead of time. Don't overthink the prep. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, George, I think you've absolutely nailed it. I've done things where I've asked clients like, please go film this video and then bring it back. And I can count on one hand the number of times that actually happened.
Yeah.
Like the busy executive is going to they're going to block off time. They're going to spend 30 minutes in absolute terror before hitting the record button. They'll come up with some excuse why they can't record, and it's over. So George, what you're doing, you're setting aside an appointment. You're scheduling an appointment with them to interview them. And so that takes away all the fear. You're going to hit record. You're going to then take that batch of content and cut it up. So I think you've already stumbled onto what I think is the very best advice you can get. We've all said, like, don't overthink it, kind of keep it simple. Because I don't know a single executive in the world where if you went to them and said, hey, this video that we created together that didn't look super professional was just okay. These are the highest performing ads we've ever had. This is the highest performing social media content we have. I think we'd like to do this again, but let's have you buy a few lights on Amazon. Let's have you upgrade your camera and mic. I don't know anyone who wouldn't take you up on that, because you're showing them the proof. Like, you started simple, you had a result, the result was great, and now you say, okay, now let's take video a little bit more seriously. And now that they've been through the ringer once, they're going to be a lot more likely. They're going to show up more prepared this time, more of an expectation of what's going to happen. And now you've got this permanent relationship with your executive where they love to create content with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from our perspective, this is a big part of what we've tried to kind of build features around. So really, like, one of the ways you can use our product is creating a question, sending a link to someone, they click the link, see the question, record their response. And to AJ and Justin's kind of points, like, busy executives, that seems like a great idea, but this just kind of keeps getting pushed down in the priorities. And then what happens, right? So we've built like reminders feature that will nudge executives repeatedly, kind of make it so that you're not the one kind of bugging them. I think booking time on their calendar is a great strategy to say, look, you've got 5 minutes. I'm going to actually send a calendar invite with a link to the prompt from so that you've got the time set aside to do it, or batching a couple and having it collected. But in terms of like camera shy and don't want to spend their time creating it, I genuinely feel like with video, like, there are people that understand how powerful it is and can show up well on camera, and every organization has a couple of them, and you want to get as much value as you can out of that group as possible. And for the ones that don't want to do this, that are horrified at appearing on video, it's going to come through in the content, and you probably want to weed them out of it if you can to begin with. And we've built features that allow you to kind of identify that group and get them in like a recurring kind of prompt calendar where they're getting regular questions.
I love that.
They're buying in, and organizations, they ramp up the use of content featuring those people. Like, obviously, the bigger the organization, the more there are there, and usually they're your sales leaders, people on the marketing team that understand how valuable it is and show up well on camera, right?
I like that you guys have systematized that, Michael. I didn't realize that was now part of your software suite. The interesting thing, I'm going to give a bit of a controversial take here, but I don't think there's anyone that's bad on video, because this has been our experience, right? But it's also because we built our model around this, and the model is a conversation method. What we find is, there's everyone is uncomfortable with video at some point or another, and some have done it enough they're not anymore. But we've even had clients that were speaking on stages to bazillionaires, to hundreds of people, and then they come to do video with us, and they're still afraid to do the video. It's crazy, isn't that funny? But it's true. And I remember when I started doing my own video journey, I had to get over that fear. One of the ways you can get around that fear goes back to that little tip, which is if you pitch it as a conversation and you minimize the fact that it's recorded, you're going to get way more out of that than if you try to put them on the stage. Because what we find, this is interesting, every so often, because we're coaching our clients, like we're meeting them, talking to them, but every so often, I've been a producer. We have a producer on our team now who handles all the client calls. But every so often we come across a client, and it's like, I'll say, hey, I noticed you're using your presentation voice right now. Can you take it down and just talk to me? Can you just talk to me and answer this question as you would, as Layla would, or as John would in a private coffee conversation? And that's just an observation from having done a bunch of this. So if you are the facilitator, George, and others watching, you're trying to facilitate this, do pay attention to the presentation voice versus the conversational voice. Because once you do point it out, and you're creating a safe environment for them, hopefully you're making them feel comfortable, you're doing a little bit of small talk on the front end to like lower the threshold of stress. They'll respond to that, and you can really get some amazingly, what's the word I want to use? I want to say intimate, but it's not quite the word I want to use. Like amazingly, like fresh content, because it comes from a place of flow, and just like you would, sitting across the table from somebody in a coffee one-on-one conversation, like those are valuable conversations. I enjoy those. They're very satisfying. You can get that same type of video content by noticing when somebody's answering from either presentation tone to going down to like conversational tone. So that's a big one. And we've worked with clients who, they were all presentation up here, and then after a while, like, oh, this isn't their normal way. Let's get you down here. And so I would argue there's no one that's bad on video. It's just that they haven't leveraged yet the right way to be on video. Whether it's Michael with your software, they get prompted and they can quick get it done with it, answering a question, or it's via conversation with someone off screen.
Brilliant.
So let's talk about, let's dive into the next, that leads us into like personal versus company pages. Personal branding versus company branding, which is, I think a bigger question than that is like, literally where we see it is like, when should I use my personal profile versus when should I use my company profile? Where should this video exist, right? Thinking with the end in mind. And we're thinking social media, right? We're not talking about video sales letters or website videos. Those all have their time and place. I would consider this to be like one-off type videos. We have, for example, we have one client that does FAQ videos, and their clients give them feedback. They love those. But putting all those aside, let's talk about like in a sales environment, supporting the sales team with thought leadership content, with video. Where do you guys think the video should exist? I want to hear your takes. Michael, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we actually built this by accident. So when we were doing our social media integrations, we accidentally built on LinkedIn in particular, that you linked your personal page, and then we're like, oh shoot, people are going to want to link their company page. And then I was like, wait a minute, just keep that in there. Someone may want to do it. And then what we saw over the past 2 years is that just explode in importance. So for a number of reasons, if you just post personal content, the same video to your personal page and the same video to the company page, you're going to get like 100x impressions from the personal page. You just have to have executives and sales leaders that are willing to do it, and some buy-in from the marketing team that that's okay. Now then take that out a level, especially like we deal with some pretty big organizations where now you can execute a campaign where each of your executives is giving the take on their topic. They've linked their personal page, or the marketing team is curating their personal pages. And now you're flooding the platform with branded thought leadership from the perspective of these executives instead of just a single drip from the company page. It becomes an exponentially more organic, impactful strategy. Not to mention what AJ can do, which is boosting those individual posts into a targeted audience that maybe each of these executives covers a different sector. So it's a strategy that, it's a cultural shift. Okay. Executives, I think, especially in professional services organizations where they have to be lead generating, they are running their own book, they're more comfortable doing this. There has to be some unity between them and the marketing team, where the marketing team is comfortable with what they're saying and the brand aesthetic of the output. Like, it's got to be a joint strategy, but it is so effective and the right way to execute this if you can get the buy-in across the organization to do it.
Yeah, a couple conditions there, I think, for success, which is right, getting that, having a ongoing, a predetermined agreement that using your, first of all, that you've got that marketing team supporting the executive team with the personal profiles, having access to it, and then also getting agreement, obviously, with these executives that is a good idea. Because sometimes you get pushback. You get pushback on that idea, right?
It depends. Yeah, it depends. Like, you'll see, I think especially, LinkedIn has DMs have really better reply rates than cold email. So you see a lot of sales leaders using LinkedIn DMs to be like lead generating. But if they don't have any content on their page, they just look like a bot, and maybe it is a bot that's running this whole strategy. Yeah. But if you're actually creating content and have what we talked about from the beginning, like why do this in the first place, that trust factor, you get a DM from someone, they click on your page, they see you talking, they know you're a real person, they know you have valuable insights on the topic, it'll work. But if you don't, it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen so many pages. You're reminding me of like some of these people that have 100, 200, 300,000 followers. And, you go to their page, they go to the profile, and they got all this content, but none of it is theirs. And you're like, man, how are they getting so many followers? It's just clear that they're not even on their own profile. Like, they're not even there.
Yeah.
A thought leader of some kind in their industry. It's like you're sharing a speech by Steve Jobs. It's not even your speech. But you flip that and you do get, let's say you do get a DM from somebody and you go to their profile and guess what? They have video content of themselves. It's not AI because it's them. Although we'll come back to that. I saw we got a question from Ariba about AI videos. We'll cover that. It's an interesting new one. But it's probably not AI. Let's put it that way. And the information they're sharing is useful instantly. Like, you're like, okay, this is a real person. I could potentially, what does the next step look like? You're not kicking them out in your brain going, don't want to, what is this? Right. We have very, very, very strict filters now, all of us, because how much stuff is coming at us, including good content. Like, is this useful now? Is this useful later? Get rid of it. Right. And so it's so important to have an asset or set of assets on your profile to enable the sales process when and if you do that. AJ, I want to hear your take, because I know you're going to talk about something very interesting to our audience when it comes to LinkedIn ads and personal versus profile, personal page versus company page videos.
Yeah, well, from an ads perspective, if we launch exactly the same video, exactly the same post from the company and from the individual who filmed it, we're going to see exactly what Michael just talked about. We're going to see 100 times the impressions, the engagement. What ends up happening is when you promote it as a promoted post, your costs usually reduce to about a third. So you're getting 3 times as many impressions, views, whatever you're counting, for the same price coming from the person. And then I think it's really easy. Like, when an executive takes a leap and says, okay, I will post this on my profile. This is hard. It took me filming that was uncomfortable. Now I'm posting and that's uncomfortable. When I do that, and then they all of a sudden start to see the comments, the engagement roll in, they're going to go, oh, this is worth my time. And then the next time that you want to work with them on a post, they're going to be a lot more amenable to it.
I mean, also, obviously the thought leadership ads, right? That's what you're referencing. Is
exactly
the thing you can do now on LinkedIn. Can you speak to that effect that has versus just that, when you're scrolling in the feed, what that has versus a regular ad?
Yeah, if you're just scrolling through the news feed and you see a post from a company you've never heard of before, statistically, you're just going to keep scrolling. Like, we are lucky if we get a company page post to have higher than 0.5% engagement rate. Versus if you have something coming from a person, we oftentimes get engagement rates that are 6% or higher. So we're talking about it being like literally 12 times higher engagement rate just because it came from a person. And that's what we as humans love. We love a connection with a human. So it's super worth the investment for sure.
And ties in beautifully to this talking point. I do a talk about, video marketing and founder-led marketing or executive-led marketing. And it ties in beautifully to the problem, I think, that a lot of us are facing as marketers is we're all trying to use the same playbook, which is this playbook of let's build the company brand. And a lot of executives are happy with that playbook because they get to be in the background doing the things they love. A lot of really wise, smart, but shy. You could call them introvert executives. And so this playbook we're all trying to duplicate isn't really working for everybody. So if you can skip all the hassle of trying to build a company brand, still valuable exercise, but it takes so long, and you can move to the personal brand of the founder, of the executives, to build that trust faster with, specifically, again, this is the context, a B2B audience. Because who are they going to work with? Your company? No, they're going to work with a person or persons in your company. Why not build that trust in you as an individual, which is more natural to build versus try to go to the company. Now try to build, there's 2 stages of trust. Skip the whole thing, build it directly from your personal account. I realize, guys, we're booked for 30 minutes today. And I think we're over. I just realized this. I'm going to call it my ADHD brain.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up real quick. Give everybody make sure we're honoring everybody's time. Let's talk real quick about, one last thing you want to leave our audience with, and then we'll talk about what the next step looks like after that. So AJ, I'll start with you. What's one thing you want somebody to take away from today?
Well, first of all, we have so much more we can say, and we only booked this for a half hour. If you are watching this going, yes, we want to hear more, this is an awesome topic, comment down below. Let us know if there's demand for it. We'll stream again.
Yeah.
I think the very best advice I have is just like, the hardest thing we see is getting these busy executives to take the time to record. So make it as easy as possible on them for the reasons I mentioned before. That's like, yes, it's hard the first time, but once the executive sees that what they've done has paid off and it's really helping your marketing department, they're going to be willing to do it again the next time. So keep it really easy, make it as simple as possible just to get the executive to hop on, hit the record button. Video span, I'm a customer of it. It's fantastic. I can send my clients a prompt and say, here's the question, just record yourself answering that question for 30 seconds and boom, like we're off to the races. So all of these are great tools. Just get that executive to record the first time.
Mm-hmm. Michael, what about you?
Yeah, definitely check out Video Span. But also, I want to speak to Ariba's question about AI and so we are obviously a software platform, and we've kind of had this journey with video. So initially it was like, how do we capture recordings and get those immediately delivered, brand aligned, and save time on editing and all of that. And then we started to realize that there's a challenge that I think, what's his name? George kind of mentioned that some people just, no matter how good you make a product, will never record themselves. So it's okay. How do you help them? So we created suites of tools that help you take advantage of existing recordings. So you upload something you already have, like a webinar or like this live stream, and our product will decompose it, apply brand identity, and put you in a position where you can work with that content. And now, and it's new over the past couple months and just exponentially improving in quality. It's okay, I don't want to record myself. I don't have an existing recording. Can I just generate something? And that's, we see value in that. We are working our way towards it from a product perspective. More from the philosophy that we want to empower those people that never want to record themselves to actually create video content that moves the needle. Now, is that an avatar? Is that faceless content that's sort of more like voiceover that you see like YouTube style type things, but for professional content? That's where we're having these real kind of initial product discussions to say, what's the real value add for our customers? What's something that they're going to actually publish? What's just creepy and weird? But what actually helps people? And if you had asked me like 3 months ago, I would have said like never do this avatar stuff. But it's gotten so good. Like it's gotten scary good. And it's gotten to the point where for these people that never want to show up on video, that now they can create video. And I don't want to just close the door on it from a product perspective, because we're seeing demand for it. So interesting things to come.
Yeah, that is interesting, Michael. I responded to that, but I realized I probably responded wrong. I said you and I will have to talk about this off screen at some point, because I'm like, no, don't do it, because it comes down to, if I found out I was watching AI videos of somebody and then I went to meet them in a sales call, how would I feel?
Yeah.
Right? So it probably really depends on the context of what the output is. If it's a educational video to draw people in, I would touch that with wouldn't touch that with the 10-foot pole. But if it's educational for existing client base or onboarding video, sure, I could see that working. But I'll leave everybody with this. So my last point is like, one of the amazing side effects of doing video content, and this is what AI can't get you. This is probably what teed me up, Michael, is what you're talking about, is that if we're finding this with every single one of our clients, we have feedback constantly where they're like, I'm enjoying the video stuff. We're starting to see some results and conversations, but I'm also really enjoying the fact that I'm advancing my own thinking on these topics. Because when you are interviewed to do video content, whether it's through a tool like Michael's Video Span or us in a live session, our monthly session, you are going to be asked questions from outside the box, often enough from your client's perspective. And so you have to think about that. And so if you're doing video content, it's probably meaning you're also advancing your thinking. And I don't know what executive doesn't want to think more smartly about their business, because at the end of the day, that's going to add value to your buyers. It's going to add value to your team. It's done it for me. I do video content all the time. I'm being challenged in how I think about stuff. So it's a fantastic, we'll just put it this way, a fantastic way to develop yourself as a leader as well, if nothing else. Beyond just the initial challenge of, I don't want to do video, now I'm doing video. That's kudos to you. If you get to that point, get your executives, right? That's a whole in and of itself tactical thing we've talked about a little bit today. But once you start doing it, you realize, oh, wow, this is actually quite helpful to me as a human being, because now I'm growing my knowledge and I'm teaching other people. And that's what I think it means to be a thought leader in business at the end of the day. All right, gentlemen, that's all we have today for everybody. We'll do another one of these down the road. I'm having a baby next month, so no time soon, but we'll get back to you. So let us know in the comments if you have any more questions after today's session, and we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yeah, thank you for the questions.
Thanks, everyone.